Hey everyone, welcome back to Not Financial Advice. Today I'm going to be talking about why a mountain bike might be a better bike for the city compared to a road bike or a hybrid bike or pretty much any other bike. And I'm going to explain why I think that's true and what my experience has been as someone who loves cycling and spends a lot of time riding their bike in a big city in Toronto, the fourth largest city in North America, and what my experience has been and why I believe what I believe. So let's get into it. Briefly, my history of cycling in Toronto. I moved here not too long ago, about 8 months ago now, I think. Although I have spent a lot of time over the years in the city, as I know a lot of people that live here. I spent time in someone else's apartment here for a while during the pandemic, so I'm very familiar with the various parts of the city, and I'm familiar with the parts that are great for cycling and the parts that are not so great for cycling, and I think more of the city should be really good for cycling. It's just a great way to get around, even when it's cold outside. I will brave the negative 20 degrees and I will go cycling because I think it's just one of the best ways to get around. And I actually did have a car when I first moved here 8 months ago. I no longer have a car. I've found ways to get around without it using car share. I got friends that have cars. I got family who has cars. I have various types of bicycles. I have a skateboard. I'm thinking of getting like an e-bike. There's just so many ways to get around in the city. And it's so dense, there's so much in close proximity that you can find a way to get pretty much anywhere you want to go with a variety of transportation types, whether it's public transit, your bike, the car, whatever. But you don't need to own the car. And I've found, for me at least, that it was not worth it financially to own my own car because just paying for a parking spot here is like $200 to $300 a month. There's like no parking in the city, and the parking that is available is extremely expensive. And owning a car, with repairs, insurance, gas every single month was costing me like $500 to $600. So, you add all that together, it's like $700 to $800 a month. And my apartment rent's only $1,200. So it's basically owning a car is like renting a second apartment in the city. It makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. Now let's get into why I think that you should be using a mountain bike when you're cycling. So when I first moved here, I was using a hybrid bicycle. So it's not like your traditional super thin tire road bike that is just like meant to go like super fast on the road that you'd see in like the Tour de France. It was just like kind of an old 90s hybrid bike. Kind of in between mountain bike tires and road bike tires. It can kind of go on the gravel a bit. It can go in the dirt a bit. It can go on the road, and it'll be okay in those environments, but it doesn't have any suspension. And I noticed that when I was riding, because the way that the city has done things with their bike lanes, aside from a couple of streets where the bike lanes are brand new, what they've done is basically just painted the road gutter where cars used to drive, and cars are a lot heavier than bikes, and over the years the concrete gets worn down and lots of big trucks riding on it, so you end up basically riding your bike through potholes, through massive bumps in the road, because the roads weren't repaved. They were just painted lines and put up barriers. And, the experience, if you're going, reasonable distances, and some days I would be cycling for about 2 hours a day for some of the work that I was doing. And it was not super pleasant and not super comfortable, getting, absolutely destroyed by the roads and not knowing when the next bump was going to hit you. It was not pleasant at all. And so, I didn't really bother doing anything about it. I just would kind of stand upward on my bicycle, like up on the pedals, and like my legs would kind of turn into the springs. And I would kind of be loose on the handlebars and just kind of make it easy for myself to ride the bike through the bumpy parts. I wouldn't be able to pedal through them. But recently, after unfortunately not taking very good care of my hybrid bike and letting it rust a little bit too much over the winter by letting the salt and the dirt sit on the bike, which was a mistake that I don't recommend you do. I ended up finding another bike from my family, thank you, who is basically letting me use this bike over the summer, and it's a mountain bike. It's a woman's mountain bike. I don't really care if the bike is men's or women's. Like, they're all bikes. They all do the same thing. I don't understand why like one is for one and one is for the other, but that's a whole other topic. Um, so yeah, this bike is very comfortable. It's got great suspension on the seat and on the front handlebars. And man, I am flying over the bumps in the road. Like, I am going so much faster because I don't have to stop pedaling when I go over like the smallest bump because it's going to like hurt me physically to do so. It's been so good just using a mountain bike to ride in the city. And I'm thinking to myself, like, for the winter when there's like snow on the ground and stuff, like this, a mountain bike would be perfect because the roads are even more uneven when you're like riding through slush. You can get a little bit more like decent tires for that. And in the summer, when you have to deal with all of the holes in the road, because again, the bicycle infrastructure here is basically just like painted and wasn't really designed to be bicycle infrastructure. They just kind of adapted it, which I'm not complaining about. That's way better than nothing. But yeah, I was like, what the hell, man? It honestly was life changing. A mountain bike in the city was absolutely life changing. And, if you're in a city where, they're kind of new on this whole cycling infrastructure thing, and all they've been doing is just like painting lines in the roads, and the roads weren't very good to begin with because these big cities tend to be underfunded for one reason or another. There's lots and lots of things to spend money on, so they do have a hard time finding ways to spend money on everything that needs to be spent on. But yeah, the mountain bike was life changing because riding through the city is basically like going mountain biking, man. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think you should get a mountain bike if you're riding in the city, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.